This gentleman has been working in the hospitality and hotel industry for a very long time. And conversing or communicating and hospitality are two words that build the fabric of that industry. And so he's going to touch on that this evening. So join me in welcoming Jack.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Conversation is something that for some people comes sort of natural. Other people have to work at it. I've been in the hospitality industry for 30 years or more, and all my experience has been dealing with people. But I discovered in reading this manual that I really didn't know how to start a conversation with anybody. I could always listen, and when they talked, I could respond. But to initiate a conversation with a stranger is kind of difficult for some people, and I'm one of them. It's a very important social skill, though, because all friendships start with communication. And most successful people are those ladies and gentlemen who can walk in a room and strike up a conversation with anyone. Now, conversation, according to the Toastmaster manual, is a big arc. It goes from meeting a stranger to conversing with an intimate friend. So it goes through 4 stages. One is starting with a stranger that you've never seen before and building a conversation. And in that situation, you usually talk about the weather, the current situation, or something of that nature. The second phase the conversation goes to, if you got along with the guy in the first place, you might talk about your occupation or maybe your hobbies. And if that goes well, now keep in mind that this isn't all at one time, that this works maybe over a period of months, or in the case of stage 4, it may even take years. But in stage 3, when you've gotten to know the guy or the lady, you may talk about things like politics or personal acquaintances, things of that nature. And then the 4th stage is the intimate stage, where you would talk about your marital problems or the problems raising your kids, the more personal things. Now we're going to go through a little role play with Mr. What is your name? Over there. Now when you start building a conversation, when you start designing a conversation or constructing a conversation, you don't ask questions that can be answered yes or no. You ask open-ended questions. And so Keith and I are at a Toastmaster convention. And he's from down in Georgia someplace. And he's just come in hello there. Hi. Where are you from?
Georgia.
From Georgia. My goodness. You came clear up here for the convention?
Yeah, I got relatives up here too.
You got relatives up here. Are you a participant in the contest?
Not a participant. My wife's actually in the contest.
Oh, your wife's in the contest.
Yeah.
Oh, what brought her into Toastmasters?
I drove up.
No, no. How did you get there? I'm sort of curious as to what got her in Toastmasters.
Actually, I was in Toastmasters first, and I introduced it to her.
Oh, well, that's good. So are you still in Toastmasters?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what keeps you in Toastmasters?
I want to try and give 5 speeches.
How long have you been in Toastmasters?
You want to be friendly? Or? Don't choke on that. I've actually been in 9 years.
You've been in 9 years?
Yes.
Well, that's pretty good.
And my wife actually, at the end of the summer, is going to be a DTM.
And how long has she been in
Probably 22 months.
Toastmasters?
Probably 4 years.
Yeah. Well, that's good. What do you do when you're not Toastmasters? Do you use Toastmasters skills in your business or your occupation?
Actually, I was drawn to Toastmasters to do speeches, but when I found out about the program, just taking roles and conducting meetings and doing the tabletop, thinking on your feet, actually ended up being more of benefit to me than actual speeches.
Oh, that happens to a lot of us. Yeah.
So in everyday work situations or at church or some volunteer program, I'll use those skills a lot more than I will speak.
You got into trouble for giving speeches. Are you a preacher?
No,
What kind of speeches did you have in mind?
just being more at ease in front of people and maybe presenting different things, not really giving a speech to give a speech per se. Just I didn't realize what all Toastmasters was involved. I just thought it was about giving speeches when I found out these other things were involved. It was more interesting.
No, it's a pretty broad base of things that you can do. Yes. Well, thank you so much. I wish your wife lots of luck in the contest.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
And now we have a 2 to 3 minute question and answer period where you can create your own questions. No one has a question?
Well,
Yes.
yeah. Well, first of all, I have a question about
Tell me.
my question. No. Is it? Do I have to be in context, like I'm talking to you, the conversationalist, or can I just talk about you ask you a question about your experience?
What are the questions? What kind of questions?
You
do
can
we
ask any kind of question you
Okay.
want.
Okay.
But it's
Okay.
pertaining to conversation.
Okay. What I noticed was that you asked him a lot of questions, and so there wasn't a place where it felt to me like you got to be present, or like there was an exchange. And so I wondered how that felt for you and how that felt for the person to experience that kind of a conversation.
Coming up with that many questions was difficult. But yes, the idea of conversation is you ask open-ended questions and you listen to the response that you give, and then you ask another open-ended question based on the response to sort of move the conversation forward.
Okay, so my one last question is, what would it felt like for you to add a little bit of your personal bit in there?
That probably would have been very good.
I was
Yes.
here this as participating. I thought he had a good pace, and I thought he did well. I think probably if we went on a little farther, that would have been the play for him to kind of give me some feedback, so I didn't feel like I was being grilled.
Right.
But right
Yeah,
then, as far as we went, Jack's countenance was very disarming, and he just acted very interested, and it felt comfortable.
I don't know if this is a question, but I did notice, and you did this very well, is because you asked one question that ended up being closed because he said yes. But then, I don't know if you had planned, you continued it, and I think it was, how do you like Toastmasters? It was something, because you said yes, and I thought, uh-oh. And you went right into it and asked a specific question, and then that opened the whole thing up. So it was a way to correct yourself. And I thought that you did very well.
Thank you.
I agree with that, and I saw that, and I found that an open-ended question will sometimes be
answered with a yes or no, which is not the intent or design of the question, but somehow people still find a way to answer an open-ended question with a yes or no, thus closing it and putting you in that position to shuck and jive a little bit there. I also liked how you repeated their answer to let them know that you were listening. And I know this isn't really an evaluation session, but it's hard to have a format with what you just did and not want to say something like that.
And the words you usually use are what, why, and how for your open-ended questions. And look at that book.
At what point should you exchange names? Good question.
You didn't have to. You can have a conversation with somebody who maybe you don't know. But you should, yeah. You'll say, hi, I'm Jack. What brings you up here from Georgia? Yes, that probably should have been open. If you were at a gathering where a lot of people were there for a similar reason, like a retirement party or a birthday party or something like that, you would say that. You wouldn't say that if you met somebody at the baseball team. You wouldn't run around and say, hey, my name is Jack. No. Yeah, good point.
Any tips for handling this when there's a lot of noise around? So say you're at a wedding and there's a band playing and you're having a conversation with somebody at the table, but it's hard to hear. Any tips for dealing with that?
Yeah, speak louder. That is so sad.